Aloha and welcome to week 9 of CM400C. We are now well into the second half of the semester and you have learned a great deal about app design in this class. Today I'm going to discuss a few more tools with you to add to your app designer toolbox. So let's get started. So what tools do you already have? As I just mentioned, you learned a tremendous amount in this class. I want to quickly highlight some key points of discussion from the lectures and the readings. As a reminder, please refer to my week in review documents for a full scope of key points from each online lecture. So what tools do you already have? Well, do you remember what the general app goals are? You want to do the following with all your apps. Solve a problem, captivate your users, and connect your users to other users and to places. When thinking about your app, you want to be able to answer the 5 W's. Why are you creating this app? Who is the target audience? What does your app do? Or what are the core features and functions? Where will your users use the app? And when will they use the app? You want to make sure your app is easy to use, entertaining, and allows your users to execute a task or get something done. When designing, always have McKay's attributes of an intuitive UI in the back of your mind. And of course, when imagining your app design, start thinking about some basic UX patterns presented by Mendoza. To become a better designer, become familiar with Apple's HIG, or Human Interface Guidelines. And then, of course, when brainstorming your app, start off with wireframing and user stories first. So I never really discussed this in class, but I think right now it's a good time to talk about how long does it take to build an app. The average mobile application can take nearly 800 hours to complete. So that's a lot of time. What this translates into is 3 people working full-time for nearly 2 months. Apps can cost anywhere from $35,000 to the upper 6 figures to develop. Game applications are the most expensive and can cost over $200,000 to build. App design and development is a very lucrative field and offers great salaries. All right, so just a little bit more review. Apps, it's steps within steps. There are 4 big stages in app development. Within each of these stages, there are many tasks that need to be accomplished in order to move to the next stage of the app build-out. In this class, we primarily work within the first stage, which entails planning the app. The second stage involves building the app. This is primarily the job of the developers on your team. However, as a lead designer, you and the developer will work closely to make sure you meet the UI and UX needs of the client and the user. When the app is ready for testing, you will work with your clients to identify potential customers to test your app and provide the team with feedback. After receiving feedback, the dev team will make changes as needed, and once the app meets the needs of the client, the dev team will submit the app to be published. So it's a lot of time and a lot of different stages. And as you guys know, I always emphasize wireframe first. One of the best tools that you have in your toolbox is knowing how to wireframe. And then, of course, I provide more reasons why you should here. And of course, why is it great? Because all you need is a worksheet with a mobile phone template, a pencil, and an eraser, and you're ready to wireframe. So there's also some wireframing softwares, and I didn't go into detail about some of these softwares in the beginning of the semester because I think it's perfectly fine to sketch them. However, you can use these online resources in addition to the Adobe Creative Suite. Let's take a look at some of these online tools. So here's Balsamiq. Balsamiq enables designers to create easy and simple wireframes by providing with a wide array of UI elements that can be dragged and dropped right onto a wireframe. Balsamiq allows for easy collaboration. So I invite you guys to kind of check out these different web applications for wireframing, and then a lot of them allow you to start for free. And then let's go over to Go Mockingbird. It looks like you can create quick mockups, link your mockups together. So I think they have, yep. You can link your mockups together to simulate a working product. And then of course you can easily collaborate with your dev team and or clients via this wireframing app. And then there's also this really great app called Envision. You can quickly transform your designs into beautiful, fully interactive prototypes complete with gestures, transitions, and animations for web, iOS, and Android. So it's a little bit more complicated than what I just went over. If you're interested in taking your wireframing to the next level, you can look into using envisionapp.com. It provides numerous video tutorials on their website for different uses of their product. Here's the Envision website. So you can actually create a mock-up and you can send it to someone's phone, so that, like, say your client, you kind of want to show them the app flow, you can actually send them your work, and then actually they could use it. They could simulate it on their phone. So it's really great. It's a little more effort, but I think it's really good to give your client a great look into what it's going to feel like, what it's going to look like as a final app product. You've got your user stories, right? So in week 5's lecture, I discussed user stories. Remember that user stories consist of one or more sentences in concise, plain language that capture a user's goal or task as part of his or her role in using the application. So this is, of course, the general user story pattern. As a user, I would like to ... so that I can ... So there's an online tool that I really wanted to show you called Trello. I think it's great to organize your user stories as well as your project flow. If you recall my third app project that I talked about during week 1's lecture, Hawaii Dream, I used Trello to help me save and organize my user stories and user personas, as well as my workflow. Let's quickly review my Hawaii Dream wireframe in the next slide, and then let's take a look at my Trello account. If you guys remember, a few things I want to point out because it's going to help you to understand my Trello account is that it's going to be organized by the tab bar items here, and then I'm going to have my user stories. It's going to say screen 1, user story, screen 2, user story, screen 3, user story. So here you can get a quick glance. The first 3 screens are for the wireframe, and then let's take a look at my Trello account. In Trello, you could create something called boards. So that's my Hawaii Dream board. You'll notice that I organize my Trello account in the following way. So my user personas are listed first so that I can easily refer back to them, right? So here are my user personas when I'm designing an app to meet the needs of my target audience. So each of these are called lists. So in the next list, I've created an onboarding screen user story. An onboarding screen gives the user some information about the app the first time they open it. This information can include details on app functionality as well as other special features that the app team would like to highlight. And then, as I mentioned, I organize my user stories first under which tab bar item it falls under, and then of course I break it down to screen. My co-developer and I are both the designers and developers of this app, so we've included a doing and done list. So a doing and done list that make it easier for us to keep track of the app development process. Since he lives in Chicago and I live here, it makes it much easier if we can see our app progress without having to constantly ask the other person. Lastly, you can add other lists. So here I have technical issues, a stretch section, which means if we get everything done, then let's add this nice little feature in. And then we also have further discussion, things that I need clarification on. So we have that section. And then let me quickly demo how to create a new board in this. So you can create a new board, and let's just call this demo for class, right? And then you create, and then you can add a list here. So tab 1, save. And then you can add a card. So screen 1, user logs in. And then you can add more cards. And then you can add another list, and you can call that tab 3, save. Oops, but I made tab 3, so what I want to do is let's go tab 2, save, and then I can actually move these around. So it's pretty nifty what you can do in Trello. I highly recommend it just to use it for any kind of projects that you're doing. You can really see the application and the utility for this web app. Prototyping and simulating in Xcode or using Xcode. So in this course, we will utilize some of Xcode's capabilities to prototype and simulate applications. And you might be asking yourself, what is Xcode? It is Apple's IDE, or Integrated Development Environment. It is free software that you can download from the App Store. So let's quickly go through how to download Xcode onto your computer. So let's go to the App Store real quick. Then what you want to do is you want to type in Xcode. And then it's installed, so I won't be able to install it, but that's basically, I wanted to show you guys how to install Xcode onto your computer. Like, what can Xcode do? Xcode is a tool that developers and designers use to write, edit, and run their code to build the entire application. So you use this software from beginning to end to build the app. And then I also want to bring to your attention again that in addition to Xcode, as an Apple developer, you have these tools at your fingertips as well. So Deb Videos, the Deb Library, they have other featured content. So I would really take advantage and go through and peruse some of these materials from time to time. They update it pretty frequently. Now let's learn a few more things about Xcode. If you're interested in learning more about the development side of things, you can build iOS apps in 2 programming languages. Prior to the summer of 2014, all iOS apps were written mostly in Objective-C. Here's some sample code of Objective-C. Now you can write iOS apps using 2 programming languages. Swift, a new programming language created by Apple, is a successor language to C and Objective-C. Word on the street is that you'll still have to know a little bit of Objective-C to start learning Swift. So here's some sample code here. So this is going to be the real exciting part. I'm going to be teaching you guys how to prototype using Xcode. Xcode Storyboard is a visual representation of the user interface of an iOS app, showing screens of content and the connections between those screens. A storyboard is composed of a sequence of scenes, each of which represents a view controller. So these are view controllers here, and its views. Scenes are connected by segue objects. So these are segue objects, which represent a transition between 2 view controllers. So here's a segue, and then here's the 2 view controllers. Xcode provides a visual editor for storyboards where you can lay out and design the user interface of your application by adding views such as buttons, table views, and text views onto scenes. In addition, a storyboard enables you to connect a view to its controller object and to manage the transfer of data between view controllers. Using storyboards is the recommended way to design the user interface of your application because they enable you to visualize the appearance and the flow of your user interface on one canvas. This explanation and more is available at the link on the bottom of the screen. So right here, if you want to learn more, check out this link. In week 12's lecture, I will go into detail about how to use Storyboard to prototype your application. So Storyboard is really cool. I think we're really going to have fun prototyping your apps in Xcode. All right, collaboration. If you recall from week 1, from the get-go, mobile app design and development is a team effort. Whether you work with your team in person or remotely, you will undoubtedly seek the assistance of collaborative tools that will enable you to successfully complete a project wherever you may be. I will introduce you to 2 different tools that will make collaboration easier for you and your teammates. Google Hangout is great. It's free. Live stream video conferencing web application that enables you to work collaboratively with others online. In addition to allowing its users to video conference, Google Hangout also allows users to share their desktops. If you must meet with a teammate remotely, you can share desktops to work on designs together and make design decisions easy and quickly. So that's what I love about Google Hangout. But this is actually what I prefer, and I'll share why. This is another video conferencing and collaborative web application, and it's called Screen Hero. Because my co-developer and I work remotely, we use Screen Hero because of its ease of use and its ability for each of us to make changes on each other's desktops. So say my co-developer has a file open, I can actually, if he shares his desktop with me, I can make changes directly on that file in real time. And that's what makes this collaborative tool so powerful. And then there's one more tip, making your work environment easier. And it's really creating multiple desktops. When working on your computer, you may want to have several desktops for a smoother workflow. You may choose to have a desktop dedicated to each software program you have open, and a desktop for searching online, and maybe a desktop for taking notes. Let me do a quick demo for you. So on your computer, on your Mac, so this is Mac only, if you press Control arrow up, you'll see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 desktops open. Okay? And then what you want to do is, if I press Control up again, I'm back to the PowerPoint. If I hit Control right arrow, I go to the desktop to the right. Control left to go back to my PowerPoint. And then of course Control up, and then I get to see where everything is. Now if I want to move desktops around, I can just move that a little bit closer. I can cancel out a desktop if I want to. So that I can close that for now. But what if I want to add a desktop? So if I want to add a desktop, I go Control up arrow, and then in the right hand corner here, you see this plus button, it comes up, and that's my desktop 5. So if I go Control up arrow, go back to my desktop, and then Control go to the right, then I get back to that 5th desktop. So the key is Control up to view your desktops, and then Control left to go left to the desktop before that, or then Control right to go to the next desktop to the right of where of the desktop you're currently working on. So I think that's a nifty tool for working with multiple softwares, and then of course if you want to do online searches and things like that. Well, let's quickly review your app designer toolbox. So now you can be ready for any design project. As I mentioned, always wireframe first, and then I shared with you a couple wireframing web applications, Mockingbird and Balsamiq. You can prototype with InVision if you want to. You can use Trello to organize your user story and project progress. And then I briefly introduced Xcode, Apple's integrated development environment. I introduced a little bit about Xcode Storyboard, which I will talk about in a couple weeks. Of course, if you're an Apple developer, you have access to their tools, including the HIG, which I also did some lectures on the HIG in this class. You can collaborate, so there's no excuse. You can collaborate with people remotely via Google Hangout or Screen Hero. And then to make your workflow smoother, you can do the multiple desktops. So now you have more tools for your app designer toolbox. I hope you guys explore some of these tools and or even use some of these tools in this class or in the future. Have a great week, and next week I will talk about what is a program, just to give you guys some background on what a program is.